So I'd like to just say a few words about emotions and first, just from the Latin, emotion, something that has to move. And so a lot of times there's something that has to move through us. And that's really what emotions are. There's something that has to move through us, both positive, negative, but they have to move through. And they're affected a lot of times by thoughts, and sometimes I think they come out of nowhere. If you haven't noticed here, you know, there's no particular reasons for it. One of the clarifications here that's really helpful, because in our lives a lot of times we go around, first of all, just it's something that has to move through us, and that we have to know about, you know. And I think particularly and in the workplace and a lot of places where what happens is there's low levels, and low levels is very much one of the descriptions is I like. That's, that you have a clear cylinder of water, and that what you're doing is you're looking through that clear cylinder of water at the world. And what happens is we take different colored dyes and put drops in there, and those drops affect what is being experienced. So a person can internally have a very low level, say, agitation or an anxiety, or, you know, all sorts of obsessivenesses that occur, and that they then affect not only how we see, smell, hear, and think, it's also how we react to others. So people go around in bad moods, or all sorts of different things that color the actual experience itself. And so part of our practice here, which is really helpful here, so there's mood, and then there's, of course, the strong ones, which I think you all know about, anger and fear and obsessiveness and possessiveness and lust and, all those things that come up, probably. And that there's very defined things here. And one of them is that there's always a place in the body. A place in the body that you can feel it. Like if you're anxious, or if you're excited, if you're pissed off, there is a place where you can actually go in the body. And then what's important is this noting or labeling technique, which is also, I'll talk tomorrow about thoughts, because that's a big deal too with thinking. But also with any kind of mood or emotion. So that we're not being driven by it, or we're going around unconsciously dumping on the world and others that we come in contact with, because that's what happens, and people do it to us, and a lot of times, somebody comes in the morning in the office, and they're, they had a bad whatever, and it comes out, and and the thing to sit there and go, oh, and this is why we do the piece last night I talked about really not self. Oh, it may not have anything to do with you, but you're going to take it personal, And the thing is that if we can have something where we can actually note where we feel it, and then the second piece, so is it, again, it goes back to Ajahn Chah's thing. Is it impermanent? Is it suffering? And is it self? Those three things. If you can get those three things, there is a good possibility that in feeling in the body and knowing, oh, I'm reacting, I have an emotion that is been triggered, and that actually it's impersonal. It's due to causes and conditions, And then you have the possibility of a thing called wisdom, and that's what we're up to, So that's my 2 cents worth about that. hopefully it's not a big deal, but it can be a big deal. But the feeling in the body and being able to name it. And it's not so important sometimes naming it here. I found that when I started this practice years and years ago, because it wasn't taught to me in Asia particularly, and more through the world of actually psychotherapy than actually in Asia, that I began to see, that if I was able to name what it was I was feeling, I actually then could this practice made a huge amount of, I could shut my mouth before something unwise would come out of it. So it did actually. It worked out really well, but and still does. I'm just catching it. So.